Okay, this is going to be page 3 in your notes. So this is up in the vocab section. Okay, we're going to be doing chapter 4 vocabulary. We only have a few words that we're going to need to define, and then we're going to do a little mini lesson on adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, so skip one line. First word we're going to do is fraction. Now, fraction is just a division problem. Written as parts. Why did I write one? A division problem when written as parts compared to the whole. Okay, now there's two parts to a fraction. The numerator is the top number. So it's the top number on a fraction. Or how many parts you have. Okay, the second one is the denominator. The denominator, in parentheses up here on numerator, let's write dividend. It is the number that is being divided. Okay, the denominator is the bottom number in a fraction. And it's how many make a whole unit. How many pieces make a whole unit. In parentheses, let's put divisor. Okay, now when you have a fraction that has a numerator smaller than the denominator, we know it's less than 1, but sometimes we have fractions that are more than 1. These are going to be improper fractions. Actually, let's put a star by each of these so that you know where each definition begins. Okay, so next one I want to talk about is an improper fraction. An improper fraction is greater than 1. The numerator is bigger than the denominator. Just for space, I'm just going to put D-O-N-M and then a period. Know that I'm talking about the denominator there. Okay, the other one that we can do, which is greater than 1, is a mixed number. And a mixed number shows whole numbers and parts. So a mixed number is like 2.5 So an example for an improper fraction would be like 3 over 2. My numerator is bigger than my denominator. So here 2.5, it's mixed number because it is whole, units, and parts. Or and fraction. Let's do that. And fraction. Okay. Next one. Reciprocal. Okay, now the reciprocal is the inverse fraction. In parentheses, let's write the word flip. So the inverse of 2/3, we flip the top and the bottom, would be 3 over 2. Okay, those are all the terminology that I want you to know for the vocab. We didn't put it in there, but I'd like you to still have some form of notes for adding and subtracting fractions. So let's just do a little squiggle line here. And we're just going to do a little tiny mini lesson on adding and subtracting fractions. Add and subtract fractions. Okay, when we add or subtract fractions, there's one thing we always need to have. That's a common denominator. So in stars, I want you to put common denominator. And what a common denominator does for us is it cuts it into the same size pieces. So same size pieces. Okay, we're going to do one example of each one here. So let's do 2/3 plus 4/5. Okay, looking at these two fractions, this is cut into 3 pieces, this is cut into 5 pieces. They are different sized pieces. So I need to cut them into smaller pieces, which means I'm going to have more of them. But so that they are the same size piece, I need to come up with a common denominator between 3 and 5. So I need more pieces, but they're going to each be smaller. So a common denominator with 3 and 5, if I just think of my multiples of 5 until something 3 will go into, 5, 3 won't go into that, 10, 3 won't go into that, 15, 3 will go into that. So 15 is a common denominator between 3 and 5. So I'm just going to change these to be something over 15. But the most common thing people will mess up on here is they forget that they have to change the numerators. If I had 3 pieces and now I have 15, that means each one of these was chopped up 5 times. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 5, but I also have to do that to the top, 2 times 5. 10 out of 15 pieces is the same as 2/3. If I do that here, I would times by 3 here, but I also have to do it to the top. 4 times 3 is 12. Add those together. Now, this just tells me how many it takes to make the whole unit. I have 10 pieces here plus 12 pieces here. That gives me 22 pieces total. It still takes 15 to make the whole unit. So 15 goes into 22 one whole time. And that leaves me with 7 pieces left over. So 1 and 7/15 is my answer. Subtraction's the same. Let's say we have 5/8. Subtract 2/3. Oh, can't do that. Let's do 2/5. Okay, I need a common denominator between 8 and 5. Count by 8s till I find something 5 can go into. 8, nope. 16, no. 24, 5 won't go into that. 32, 5 won't go into that. 40, 5 can go into 40. So 40 is a good common denominator. But what do I need to do to 8 to make it 40? Well, I times by 5. But if I do it to the bottom, I got to do it to the top. That gives me 25 out of 40 pieces here. Remember, those are worth the same value. This just has more smaller pieces. What did I do to 5? I multiplied it by 8, so I need to multiply the top by 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Now I have the same size pieces. I can subtract. 25 are here. I'm taking out 16 of those. 25 minus 16 is 9. So I end up with 9 over 40. Now can I reduce that? No. So that would be my final answer. So make sure only when adding and subtracting fractions do you need a common denominator.